Hi. Today I wanted to talk about something which I consider extremely important, not only in language learning, but also in our lives in general, and that is our capacity of making mistakes and learning from them. Now, I like saying in general that no one on this planet has never made a mistake. Everybody has made one, two, three, countless mistakes in their lives. And this not only goes for human beings, but this also happens in the animal world. For example, monkeys. According to some scientific research, monkeys actually learn by observing their peers messing up. The difference between us and monkeys is that we ponder our mistakes. We have the capacity of thinking about what we did wrong. Now, let me tell you what I think is the main problem here with making mistakes. We all went to school to learn something. Now, in the school system, especially if we consider language learning, we have all been graded on our language skills because teachers need to evaluate us. Sometimes this is done in some sort of punitive way. I still remember, for example, in the Italian in my school, I got a little bit discouraged when I got bad marks. I believe that this has a negative impact. This had a negative impact on my willingness to improve my language skills, and I believe that that happened to some of you as well. Um, now, I believe that if we develop a different way of dealing with mistakes, it can change everything. Now, let me show you, for example, when we start being independent learners, so when we finish high school, we still keep the burden of being judged in some way, whether it is unconscious or conscious. So I heard and I've seen countless times words such as perfectly native accent, perfect accent, perfect grammar. You speak the language perfectly. This choice of words suggests that I believe a lot of people see language learning as a performance. For example, oh, he speaks better than you, I speak better than him, etc., etc. And I believe this kind of attitude is not only useless, but it could be dangerous. It could hamper us from learning a language on our own and learning it effectively. Uh, I believe the language learning is not a competition. It's not a performance. It's about communicating with others. And I also believe that nobody is perfect. And even if we crave for perfection, we want to reach the sky, but we'll never reach it. It really doesn't matter. For example, in this system, we tend to see native speakers as role models, and sometimes we tend to forget that native speakers make quite a few mistakes themselves. The fact that they're native speakers doesn't necessarily mean that they don't make mistakes or they have never made a mistake. They make quite a few mistakes as well. I remember I'm a native Italian speaker, and I remember that in order to speak Italian fluently and well and being able to write correctly, I spent quite a lot of time trying to learn as much as I could. I do remember that when I was 10, my writing skills were not very good, so I was desperately trying to find a way to improve them. And I remember that I started reading a book, actually a lot of books, and that kind of changed things. But I also developed a sound, positive attitude towards being corrected. So, in general, I believe that language learning actually is not only about expansion, that is, learning more words and learning more structures and more sentences, proverbs, etc., etc., but it's also about refinement. It means that we not only expand our knowledge by input, by listening, by reading, by getting exposure to getting exposed, being exposed to the language, but also to we refine the language itself. We refine our skills by human interaction, by producing something, by writing, but by also by talking to others. And if we develop a sound attitude towards it, we can improve our language skills dramatically. This is what I believe. Now, let me give you a few guidelines. First, I would like to say that when people talk about feedback and the fact that being corrected is not very useful, I would like to stress the fact that it really depends on how you deliver the feedback and how you receive it. If the very first, I'm gonna show you four main guidelines. I believe they're very important points. The very first thing that I would do to refine my language skills and expand them, obviously, is to find a good language partner. Now, when I talk about delivering the feedback in the wrong way, uh, imagine being in a bar and you've been learning, let's say, Spanish for a couple of months, and you stumble upon a very negative person who corrects you every 3 seconds. Obviously, you're not very happy about it because it disrupts the flow of your speech and hampers you, keeps you from speaking, and demotivates you and discourages you. And I believe that there are not a lot of people like that, but they do exist. And if you're, especially at the beginning, the beginning phase, if you stumble upon these people, they can actually destroy your will to learn. But at the same time, I still believe that in this world, and especially when you're looking for a language partner, you can find a lot of like-minded people who can actually help you a lot, and they think like you. They can actually identify with you, and they understand that as a language learner, you want to learn, so you're willing to make mistakes and being corrected and improve your skills. So I would like to emphasize the fact that you have to first find a good language partner. Now you can find it in your city. If you live in a big city, an international city, that'd be great. But even if you don't, you can always use Skype. Um, a website comes to mind, ShareTalk, for example, www.sharetalk.org, where you can find a lot of people willing to talk to you. But there are a lot of sites like that. Then you have to find a nice person. And as I said before, by a nice person, I mean a like-minded person like you. And this is kind of some sort of trial and error process. So you first talk to a person, you see if you like them, for example, and then you can tell them, okay, let's exchange Skype and let's start talking. This is quite important. The second point is to expand and refine. When you have a language partner, what you have to do is to talk to them in the target language. And as I said before, expanding means that even if you don't know the language very well, and this is what I've been doing, especially in Polish recently with my dear friend Michał, even if you don't know a lot of words, I don't believe when I hear people say, well, if you don't have words, you cannot speak. That's true if you're talking to yourself. But if you're talking to another person, you can always ask him, can you please tell me how to say this? And they can deliver this information in a second. So you can keep talking. And this goes faster and faster. But then you also have to refine your language skills. One of the best ways to do that is that when we talk, when we engage in a conversation, especially if we don't know the language quite well, our brain has to grapple, has to cope with a lot of things. The syntax, pronunciation of words, intonation, meaning, etc., etc. So we kind of struggle at the beginning because our brain has to cope with a lot of things. But if you record the conversation, then you will be able to listen to yourself and to be more relaxed and to learn from your own mistakes when that person corrects them. And you can tell them, please correct me, but do it later. I will try to say some things at the end of my speech or what you're trying to say. You can correct me, so you will have all the corrections there, and you will be able to listen to yourself trying to speak. And this is the refinement process. The third advice, sorry, that I would like to give you is that try to choose subjects you really want to talk about. Language learning is communication. Let your language skills be driven by the desire of getting your point across when you're talking about things you really like. If you like talking about biology, if you like talking about any single subject. I've been coaching and training more than 70 people in the last 2 years in a lot of languages. And the first thing that I do, for this, for a lot of students, is today we're going to talk about something you really like. And when they really want to talk about something, they feel this desire, and they don't really care about being corrected. So they talk for a bit. I deliver the corrections, And then they keep talking because they want to tell me what happened, especially we're not just talking about biology or any subjects, but also personal experience. Because we also learn languages by wanting to communicate with others, and this is an extremely important point. Um, the third one is that you have to be curious and you have to keep a positive attitude towards being corrected. As I said before, obviously it's important that when we talk about feedback, it's important to be corrected in a constructive way, but we also have to accept the correction in a constructive way. And I would like to say that making mistakes can also be fun. You don't have to be that serious about it because we all make mistakes. I do remember an episode, which is quite funny. My Italian friend here in Paris, she when she first arrived here, she couldn't speak French very well. Well, she could speak French very well, but she still didn't understand the nuances of the language. So she was dating a guy, and this guy, at the end of she was dating, and at the end of the night, she told him, she asked him, "Mais tu veux pas me baiser?" Which in French means, "Don't you want to, have sex with me? Don't you want to, the F word, me?" He, the thing is that she made that mistake because in Italian, baciare, which kind of corresponds to baiser, means to kiss. So she thought she had asked him, don't you want to kiss me? But he actually understood, don't you want to me? So, and then they laughed together, so they smiled together, and she will always remember that mistake. So mistakes are not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, I would like to emphasize the fact that mistakes if you know how to deal with mistakes, they can really change your life. I would like to conclude by quoting Mr. Einstein, a man whom I really admire, and he said, let me see here, anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Thank you for listening. Bye.